So it's only going to cost you 25 candy to evolve Eevee, but each evolution is going to have a different evolution method without the name trick. Now for those of you unfamiliar, you can actually bypass a typical evolution requirement by using the name trick, but you can only do this once. So I would only recommend using this once you get a 100% IV Eevee, or you get a rank 1 for the Great League or the Ultra League respectively in PvP. So with that being said, let me quickly go over how to evolve Eevee with the name trick and then also without the name trick. So with the name trick for Vaporeon, you want to go with Rainer, for Jolteon Sparky, Flareon Pyro, Espeon Sakura, Umbreon Tomeo, Leafeon Linnea, Glaceon Rhea, and then finally for Sylveon Kira. Now once again, I would not recommend using this name trick lightly, you can only do it once. I'm assuming that many players probably fall into this trap though of using the name trick without really understanding this, so how do you actually evolve Eevee without the name trick? So for Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon, this is probably the most difficult one to go with because it's going to be complete RNG. It's random to just get any of them. Back in 2016 when the game first came out, I totally used a name trick to get my Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon, not even realizing like how IVs worked back then, and eventually once I got my Hundo EVs, well, at that point I had to just use the random evolution to try and get the Hundo Vaporeon, Hundo Jolteon, and Hundo Flareon. Only recently, like in 2024, did I finally get my Hundo Flareon, guys. I rolled so many Vaporeon, so many Jolteon, but I couldn't get that Hundo Flareon. So I think when it comes down to it, those are the most important Eeveelutions to save the name trick for, that and Sylveon, but we'll get to that. So next up, let's talk about Espeon and Umbreon. So basically these are going to be the same requirements, except you have to evolve one during the daytime and then one during the nighttime. Espeon during the daytime and Umbreon during the nighttime, but for both of them you have to walk 10 kilometers with Eevee as your buddy. One really common mistake that a lot of players make is that after they walk 10 kilometers with Eevee as their buddy, they go to evolve it without Eevee being their buddy, and I don't think it actually works that way. So Eevee has to be your buddy when you go to the evolution for either Espeon or Umbreon. Now for Glaceon and Leafeon, these are probably the easiest evolutions by far. For Glaceon, just evolve it under a Glacial Lure module, and for Leafeon, just evolve it under a Mossy Lure module. Super simple. Now, Sylveon is by far, in my opinion, outside of Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon, the most difficult Eeveelution to go for, and that's because you have to earn 70 hearts with Eevee as your buddy, basically getting it to Great Buddy status, which, I mean, for those of you that aren't familiar with the whole buddy feature, it is very tedious, I think it is, and so when you eventually get that Hundo or potentially even like a good PvP IV spread for Sylveon, you definitely want to use a name trick. I would recommend the Hundo, but of course it's totally up to you. Now, for every evolution except for Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon, the silhouette is going to match the respective evolution. Now, I do believe if you actually have the requirement to evolve both Espeon and Sylveon, for example, at the same time, it is going to give you two different silhouette options. So just make sure you check that before you evolve your Eevee into their respective evolution, or you might end up messing it up. If you have any more questions about the Eeveelutions, let me know in the comment section down below. I know it can be kind of confusing, but hopefully all of that did make sense.